Concentrate power. You're in the dog zone for an hour. Come on. You know the number. 1-900 hot dog. 1-900 hot dog. 1-900 hot dog. Yeah, 9,000.
Welcome to DOGGZZONE 9000, the official podcast of 1-900 Hot Dog, America's last comedy website. I'm the horny ghost of Robert Brockway, and with me, as always, is the hot, young, very possessible body of my comedy partner, Sean Baby.
I'm the World Wide Web Sean Baby, and there's only one way out for the man who knows too much. Bloodfist ain't hard way out.
And our guest today, he's the Arc Swaim, Swaimella.
Always taking the hard way in, ladies. That's me, Michael Swaim, back releasing a video a week over at the Cracked YouTube channel, Cracked, which has forever billed itself as the only comedy website. So I don't know how that squares with your math, but we can fight about it later.
I think that joke originally started because our tagline for a long time was the first comedy website since 1958. Mm-hmm. That was, the joke about it being the old magazine that we had nothing to do with. So upon the collapse of all media, we decided to be the last one. And I think we're right.
Yeah, true.
But go visit Swaim's thing.
Yeah, truly amazing
right.
that you got hired and you're doing that today.
Look, they're Cracked-style video essays. They don't overlap or compete with what this is at all. And frankly, the components of New Cracked that do, meaning the quote-unquote articles, just Drac, bottom tier. So, just go to the YouTube channel and watch my weekly video. That's all I'm asking.
Yeah, we don't advertise ourselves as the last
Nothing
YouTube
more.
channel. It's fine.
Yeah.
Go support Swaim. Swaim rules. I'll do our plugs too. We're supported by patreon.com/1900hotdog. We're the last comedy website. There's no more like competition left. You have no choice. I don't know why I'm plugging this. You
don't even
either
bother.
love us or you're doing nothing. You are existing in a void where your interests are not served. You can go visit our new store, 1900hotdog.com. We do have a YouTube channel. It's Swaim's not on it at 1900hotdog. We have a couple of tier changes that you might want to check out recently. So you might be getting cool stuff you don't know about. Go check up on the site if you're just listening to the podcast.
We do have this on YouTube. The audio of this is on YouTube if you want to watch little cartoon heads of us say these words.
I guess we can be in the same medium and not beef, right? In terms of competition.
No, we've got to fight.
No, Sean's right.
You guys are comedy. I'm more of an edutainment, infotainment situation. So,
I'm sorry. Sean's right. It's this podcast is over.
I'm not edgy funny like you guys.
Yeah, it's been kick time.
I'm not 90s underground David Cross funny. Fucking.
This counterculture's got us all bugaboo.
No, the joke I was going to make was that if every 10th pod you listen to, they mail you a hot dog now, which is nice. But I did want to ask if you're allowed to say, or you can tell me off mic if you're not comfortable, because we're thinking about it. Is that merch store worth do you get ROI on that? Is it worth keeping up monetarily? I don't care if the fans enjoy it. I mean the money.
Oh, that's a Brockway question.
Yeah, it depends. Yeah. You get to set your
price. It depends.
Price.
There's some hard work behind it, though, I imagine.
We're not making a ton of money, but I think it's nice to give people the opportunity to wear something they enjoy. I think it's a nice conversation starter. If someone says, hey, what the fuck is that on your shirt? And then they take 90 minutes explaining what 1-900 hot dog is to strangers.
All right.
Yeah, we're making enough money to pay our artists very well. Is what we're doing.
Cool. That's cool. Well, we have a merch store that exists. And, the shirts cost $35. And every time we sell one, we get 14 cents. There's just no way to...
Oh, ours is way better than that. No, come to ours.
Good for you.
It's a hassle to set up, but it's way better than that once you get going. Let's get into it. Today we're talking about the Blue Comet Press comic book, Bladesmen Under Sea, from my favorite indie comics lunatic, Craig Stormon. If this sounds familiar, it's because we had Swaim on last time to discuss Bladesmen, which is the first series, I guess. It was Blue Comet's attempt to capitalize on the sword and sorcery trend years too late, early 90s too late.
I didn't remember a lot of that podcast, which is just what happens as you're making stuff. You just forget things you write about and talk about. Which is bad because this comic seems to think I remember every single fucking detail of that other comic. they just jump right in with like, hey,
Yeah.
of course you remember all these characters. You remember everything that happened. Here we go.
I'll give you a little primer as we get going. But, see, Craig Stormont, one of my favorite things wrong with his brain, there's a lot wrong with his brain, is that he seemed to think if there's any change at all in a comic book, you need to end that comic book and start a new series.
Right.
So, like, the X-Men go to Hawaii? No, it's called X-Men Hawaii now. It's a new series. It might only run for one issue, and then they leave Hawaii, and you've got to start X-Men Plane Ride Home.
What's great is that he says word for word, he says, one thing you should know. If it's plain that you're holding an excellent book in your hands, you can expect another great book every month from Blue Comet Press. And it's just weird that he keeps assuring us he's not going to do the one thing he's definitely going to do. This is the guy who cancels all his comics, and that's fine, go ahead. But why go out of your way to specifically tell us you won't? Like, that's the strange part, is every comic starts with, this will be here forever, guys. Issue 250, here we come.
You described it as a series. 2 points is technically a series, but if I recall, it was only issue 0 and issue 1. There might have been an issue 2. It might have been 3. But regardless, I love that he also in that letter is explaining how his business is falling apart. And he's like, getting his stuff published through now a shell parent company that also is on the brink of collapse.
Hold on. We'll get to the editorial in a second here.
Sorry. But to your original point, every time there's a lore thing that makes no sense out of context, it will literally just say Bladesman 1.
Just
go check it. Go check it out.
We're committing the same sin as Craig Stormont and Bladesman and assuming that everybody knows everything about what we're talking about.
What is the Bladesman? Yeah.
Well, Craig Stormont first. He's who we're talking about. He's a frustrated maniac with no tolerance for his employees, including his main employee, Craig Stormont.
Right.
He's the owner, publisher, lead writer, and artist for Blue Comet Press. It's like almost a vanity press kind of thing. He does have employees, so it's not full vanity press. He is trying, I don't think his best.
And yet no one's harder on him than himself.
Yeah.
But he won't shape up.
He keeps starting comic books. He gives himself 1, maybe 2 issues and cancels them.
And he goes, "You're right, this fucking sucks. I'll try again."
Yeah, and he will often apologize in what we started talking about there, which are his absolutely unhinged editorials.
Well, I think, as someone who's made a lot of things, I think I can smell on him that these are the fun ideas. When you first start a project, you're like, oh, the world's going to be like this, and he'll have a lizard best friend. And you're like, you're just throwing ideas down. And then it gets to the part where you're like, oh, shit, I need a story arc for their first adventure. And I need an ending for this. And that's the tough, that's the work. And I think Craig's like, you know how a way around that is just to cut everything off at issue 1 when you're just doing those Rob Liefeld character intros, like the toughest man in the world. His hands are knives. He's got a name. And then you're done. You don't have to think about that guy anymore.
I want to issue 1 correction. Sometimes it is canceled in issue 0.
That's true. Zora and the Star Warrior canceled after issue 0.
Yes, we'll not quite get to 1 issue. Bladesman was one of their flagship titles, meaning it had 3 issues, which we discussed on the first podcast. Only one of those issues was the other 2 issues put together, only subtracting about 10 pages, so that probably doesn't count.
What the fuck?
So now he relaunched it for issue 2, technically, because they went underwater, but it's the same characters, it's the same world, it's the same storyline. He literally said, this can't be the same comic book if they're underwater. Everyone is wet. Everyone will be confused.
I don't disagree with that at all.
It's time to relaunch it.
Yeah. It's a new title. If they're underwater, it's a new title.
First of all, I want to talk about the cover of Bladesman Undersea. It is very plain to me the way the title is just hyphen. It's split with a hyphen in front of a monster. It's written in tiny font, crammed at the top. They forgot to factor in a title.
They forgot to factor in a title.
They absolutely did, and it's crammed on there. Probably the last thing they forgot to do, they remembered to do, was put Bladesman under -C up at the top, and it's just...
It also could have been completely unrelated pinup that they're like, well, let's use this as the cover, and then like, well, if we don't really have a place for a title, fuck it. No, it's either this or draw a whole new thing. So we're doing this.
They also apparently shelled out the big buck, their big pull, as he mentioned several times, is that a Dark Horse artist did the cover this time. So it is notably,
They're pretty good.
I would say the art throughout, by better, it's this weird kind of art where you're like, Well, there are a lot of lines, but it kind of distracts the eye. All the lines have exactly the same weight, so it ends up just looking like a kaleidoscopic mess of black and white. But the art style definitely looks different.
Hey, there's a reason for that, and the art style is by the Dark Horse artist. However, the inks, Craig Stormont, baby.
Yeah, that's funny that the art's kind of good except for the inks.
I bet he ruined it.
Yep.
I bet he really pissed that guy off, and we can find out about it in the editorial of whatever comic happened after this one. Like I said, this editorial is somewhat tame. It is quite funny that he announces, this will go on forever, baby, and it did not. He has some other news here where he says that if you've noticed a new logo on some of the covers, it's because they're partnering with Heroic, which is going to distribute them just all across the known world. It's going to be such a huge deal if all goes well. I did some research. It did not go well.
Damn.
Everything's aspirational. Nothing is like a confident plan set in stone, which I feel like is business rule number one is you lie, even if that isn't true. Like, this is what we're going to do. But instead, he's always like, I mean, God willing, knock on wood. There'll be more issues of this, but we'll see.
Mark my words. By next year, there will be popsicle spin-offs of all these characters.
Maybe, if it works out. We'll see.
I've got another lie upcoming. He says, we have some fabulous, super interesting, and well-done miniseries coming. I mean, that is a lie, but that's not the one I'm talking about. As well as some great one-shots and other projects. Please don't miss Death Row #1 on sale now. It's the first of a 3-issue miniseries. Featuring what I believe to be the best characters we've created yet.
I want to know, do you know, like, what are their powers? Do you know the premise of Death Row at all?
Death Row is like what's his name? He's like a Deathlock. He's like an undead zombie cyborg guy. I do have all 2 issues of Death Row.
Damn, didn't quite make it to the promised 3.
I don't know. 2 is somehow funnier than 1 when you promise 3.
Yeah.
You couldn't get that last one out? What happened on the 3rd?
You've already proven you're not above editing the second one and reprinting it as issue 3. Just do that.
Yeah. Anyway, he ends this editorial by saying, one thing you should know, if it's plain that you're holding an excellent book in your hands, you can expect another great book every month from Blue Comet Press. We guarantee you'll never be sorry or upset over quality in a Blue Comet Press title. And if you ever are, write to me.
You will be.
And if you ever are, write to me, and I'll see what I can do to make you happy, okay?
I'll do my best. We'll see how
That's
it goes.
literally what he says, word for word. If you
Amazing.
are,
go with the flow, guy. You know,
just tell me what you don't like then.
I took that Jim Carrey yes vow. That's sort of how I'm doing this year. So that just made me realize that that's also his storytelling instinct, because people who didn't hear the first episode, he's the master of no stakes whatsoever. And that trend continues beautifully in this, where like every time there could be tension, someone's like, no, never mind. I did magic and it didn't even happen.
Yeah, you're fine.
Like that bounced off of me, my laser shield. So that's fine.
So, if you don't remember the first podcast, the Bladesmen were the greatest swordsmen from around the world of Chonome, whose king Dargore, king of Darkonia, became trapped in a crystal by the evil sorceress Arkella. Basically, because the Bladesmen are a bunch of fuck-ups, that crystal was destroyed at the end of the series. When we open, they believe they might have killed their king, which is very funny to me. Your characters are the elf, Elvor, he's a mighty little man. Allegra, she has all the powers of a woman with all the weaknesses of a woman. Rakota, he's a centaur with horse insecurity.
I am a soft cheese horse.
There's Rakota's girlfriend, a flying centaur with titties. She might have had a name in the first series, but she does not in this one.
Elvo was written as if he talked like in a Brooklyn patois. And I love that they're like, he just talks normal now. I'm sorry.
No, we forgot about that one. We forgot the name of the flying centaur, and part of the way through this comic book, forget she exists entirely. She just stopped showing up. And of course, we have Arthon, who has God's sword, and it can do anything.
God's sword.
For now. I think he gets a new sword later.
I think he powers it up even more, right?
The sword of double God.
It's infinity +1 at this point.
Also, they were accompanied by a magical wizard named Nemesin, whose persona was that of a hawk. He died pointlessly, doing
all their
nothing.
Gandalf's gone.
Yeah.
Soon after he died, though, the Bladesmen were accompanied by a mysterious hawk. I don't bring that up for any reason.
Yeah, I never put the two things together.
So the comic book opens on them holding the shattered pieces of the crystal, being like, uh-oh, did we just kill that guy? Did we just kill the king we came to save? When suddenly Allegra, who is billed as one of the mightiest swordsmen in the world and really just damsels it up. She's there to be the damsel so far, and then possibly magical. She suddenly passes out and says, I can see it again, the hawk, clearer than ever.
Hold on, you're skipping past a part I really thought was powerful, because they are holding that big wedge of cheese, and he's saying, the king's image is fading from these pieces of the eye of Zzone. Can he still possibly live? And then Allegra says, on her? And I thought, that's a really good response. Because it's both no and yes, and useless.
And then she passes out, which is also perhaps her superpower.
In retrospect, I thought maybe that was meant to be the sound she made as her brain misfired and she lost consciousness, but it's hard to say.
She's just having a weird stroke in the middle of their adventure.
It's a liminal transition sound.
And she sees a hawk, and they're like, oh, that could be Nemesis. He used to transform into a hawk, to which Arthon's like, no, he died.
That was the one thing that mattered. You promised me it would stick.
To which the hawk says, that's only partly true, my friends.
I'm really glad that she has this magical power to foretell the arrival of a hawk with like a migraine. She's like, oh, migraine, I'm seeing a hawk. And then a hawk shows up moments later. That'll come in handy.
I also like that he's like, it's only a half-truth. You see, I survived death. And he's like, oh, so it's true. It is true. It's fully true.
So you're fine.
But now you see, he can only appear as a hawk if he uses the woman as a battery, as his power source. So that's why she's weak and drained, is because he's using her for his hawk force. That's the woman's role. That's the one woman's role in this comic book. I'm sorry, the other
women love to nurture.
There are two women. The other one does not have lines.
You can't accuse them of fridging her because we actually give fridges some power, like some resource.
Yeah, they keep things cold.
Yeah, she's the opposite.
Just stands in the background, being a horse with titties, which is, I guess, enough. So Nemesis? What the hell was his name?
I think it's Nemesis.
Nemesis.
Yeah,
Nemesis is also called Windrider, the hawk, and he lands on her shoulder and says, you are the most receptive to occult energies. In fact, you have untold powers of your own you haven't discovered as of yet. To which she says, I do?
I think she's probably not going to get to them before Craig moves on to a series about skateboarding werewolves or whatever. So just forget he said anything.
That's basically what the hawk says. The hawk says, yes, but we will speak of that later.
Right.
There's no time to
Wheelwolves.
explain.
I change it. Wheelwolves is what Craig would call it.
You told me I have superpowers, and then you're like, yeah, we'll talk about that later. Anyway, I'm a bird.
Hey, here we
Your
go.
power is to summon an alternate dimension where sharks fight crime, and we zoom in, and now that's the comic.
If I remember, okay, so the bird now says, hey, also the king isn't dead. All the characters that died are being undone because, like Swaim said, there's no stakes. So even if somebody died, Craig will just kind of bring them back. So, hooray, I think.
The classic nerd shit is, I don't understand why in Lord of the Rings, the eagles don't just fly and drop the ring when they're talon.
Sure.
I don't understand why Gandalf doesn't just blah, blah, blah. This is, so this is what you want? This is that reality. Where
Here you go,
every
nerds.
time there's a challenge, the wizard goes, oh, guys, don't sweat it. I'll magic the shit out of this.
Exactly.
Like, don't worry, guys.
So the problem is the king's soul was trapped in that big piece of cheese that they destroyed because of the fuck-ups. And it was whisked away at that point by the undersea gods because they have collected all the souls of mortal men.
Everything's back to the status quo by page 3, so they need to slow things down. So they do a flashback. And then that flashback turns into a story about the centuries ago where the two evil undersea gods, they ruled the world. And then there was an era of death where the wizards started to rule again. So we go into a flashback about that. And again, this was supposed to be a story about how, this king didn't die earlier today. Or no, the wizard didn't die, and now he's a bird. I guess now that I think about it, he already told before the flashback started. I'm starting to think this writer might be an insane idiot.
There's 2 nested flashbacks and then some lore And then all
there's
of
a
that
story
is
in the second flashback.
And his lore is on the equivalent of, because he makes a point in the middle, apropos of nothing, of like someone mentioning also, yeah, and remember that elf battalion that's legendary in our world because they're super brave. And you're like, if you look back, and it's like Star, Bladesman 1. If you look back at Bladesman 1, in that, all it is a guy going, way in the past, there was an elf battalion that everyone respects because they were so brave.
They were the best, man.
Like, it's just a piece of information that he wants to present again.
Remember, I'm not just making this up. This is a callback.
To a thing that will never, ever pay off. Never.
You don't need to know any of this. It will never come in handy.
And you're like, will those elves come in at the end of the story and help us? No, they died thousands of years ago. So brave, though.
Again, you were a bird right now. In the context of the story, you were a bird that started telling me how you died. What? Why are we talking about an elf?
That's what I love about it.
We come out of that having answered nothing, and nobody questions it. They're just like, oh, okay, so you're saying that Dargor's soul is being held by the undersea gods, to which the hawk says, yes.
Yes. It's like 3 stories ago you mentioned the king. That's still going on, right? Yeah. Okay.
It's so very much the robot from Aqua Teen that thousands of years ago, and then after that he's just
absolutely. If Master Shake then went, so what I'm hearing is go to the very bottom of the ocean. Yes.
Yes. Yes, the hawk says. Okay. So
except we call it Cyber Ocean 2000.
I'm doing it as hard as I can.
Except for he calls it the Dark Vault of the Nathrodene under the Sea of Pestilence. So it's actually
Pestilence. Craig is not good at spelling. That's what it says here in my notes, which is suspiciously nice for my notes. Wait. It says here Craig writes like a 2nd grader who recently drowned. So my notes still are mean sometimes.
To which the sassy elf says, oh, the ocean, and I really hate swimming.
You just fucking nailed it. That's like Lethal Weapon style writing. That's something Tango and Cash would say.
Here we go again. What do you mean by that? Well, I've swum previously. In the past. Is it swum? Is it swam? Let's go.
His sentence ends with 2 hyphens, like, I'm not done talking, and then you turn the page, right. He's done talking.
He's done talking.
You're interrupted by submarine travel.
So the hawk teleports them. He scatters their atoms into just a billion little pieces, and then teleports them to his realm where he says, you have to assemble yourselves and your own individualities. Concentrate harder.
It's a lot to spring on a guy.
Half-wits.
Yeah, like after you've been disintegrated, shouldn't be the part where you explain.
Mid-transport, you go, all right, you take it from here, bud.
Oh, no.
What do you mean? I don't even know what you mean by that.
The bird is back in human form, and the first thing he does, the only thing he does, is he hugs the lady. He's like, oh, there's a lady here. And he goes and he gets an embrace, and then he just zaps everyone with endgame raid gear. Just like, plow!
He's very late-stage Francis Ford Coppola, because he's like, behold my magic impossible vision of beauty and wonder. Also, ladies. Goose, goose. And, of course, I'm sure anyone listening will note the obvious, but just so it's said, he was like, really, there are some stakes because the downside is that I died and now I can only be a bird. Behold, I am a man once more. Amazing.
Classic Craig. I think giving all your characters like all of the gear that they need, especially in a fantasy setting when it's sort of all about a quest, right? Like, if we're going to do this, we got to go do this first, blah, blah, blah. I just get the feeling like if Craig Storman's your dungeon master, he just gives everybody in the party the +5 weapons in the first kobold cave. You know what I mean? Like, he's just like, a magic elf shows up and here's the best armor in the game.
Yeah, he can't not drop the thing he designed at recess. It's burning a hole in his pocket. Yeah.
Exactly.
He's also the guy that says, and you meet a new member of the party.
Yeah.
I will be controlling him. He's the most powerful. He has God's sword and it can do anything.
Oh my God, guys. Awesome.
The rest of your party's like, okay, so I won't be having any fun.
His name is Craig Storman.
His name is still Craig Storman because that's the best name. So he gives them all invincible armor, to which he says, you will wear this armor always. It will stay on you wherever you go, visible or intangible. It is there. So if he forgets to draw it, it's fine in the lore.
Yeah, he has that new feature some games have where you can wear any item you want, but it can look like any other item you want.
Transmogrification.
You can never drop it. You're immortal and invincible.
Yep.
what are we doing? Like, the gods have no chance against you.
And then he tells Arthon, it has magical properties and powers, your sword especially. It was already God's sword. It could do anything. And now it's double supercharged.
There's a scene here where the little guy like pulls out he's like, oh, I got a new sword. Before the wizard's even done explaining what their swords can do, he's already taking it out and swinging it at Ricotta, the horse. He's like, just new sword goofing, just instantly like swinging that shit around.
I mean, that's really all this scene is new armor and new sword goofing. Like, It's time to just get black, because he conjures up, he says, concentrate on your swords, they are the most powerful weapon. Your armor can appear and disappear at will. Here, practice on this creature, try your swords. And then he just magics up a two-headed dragon, to which Elvor says, hey, a two-headed dragon.
And then they kill it, they one-shot it. Then there's like a flashback to the elves killing demons in some sort of a maze. Did I hallucinate this? Because it never gets mentioned again.
No, I was so sure that in scanning this comic, I had missed a page that I went back through this like 10 times going, no, I'm crazy. Because like all of the best comic books, Craig Storm numbers some pages and then forgets to about halfway through. So it'll be like every other page, every third page, and then the last half not numbered at all. But no, there's elves like hunting some monsters underground, and then it stops, and then that's it, and it's never mentioned again. I think it's there to make you think you've gone insane.
Well, if you've read this much of it, you have. Yeah. It's like the killing word. It reprograms your brain.
Back in the kingdom of Dargore with their king missing, they're wondering who will take over, and of course it could be Dargore's son, but then one of the nobles says he's either dead or, and then leaves it for long enough for the prince to go, or right behind you.
I let out a gasp. I was stunned. What? Character I've never seen? Oh, this is an opportune time for him to arrive.
The greatest compliment I can give this comic is something that tons of straight comics don't accomplish, which is that multiple times, because of the nature of the offer the writer is presenting, I gasped or like my jaw dropped like multiple times.
Because there's no way to expect this, because it has never been mentioned before. So how would you? His name is Prince Simat, and he's a dickhead. He's there to be just a spoiled little kind of brat of a prince and take over for his just and royal father's reign. Is the long and short of it. Back in the Nemesis realm, where you have to concentrate really hard if you want to keep your body, they're blasting the shit out of this dragon still, who never stood a chance. Just fucking cutting him in half, just playing with his corpse. It's pretty funny. I will give them that.
I really like how the wizard says that your swords are super swords. You got the legendary super swords, but your minds are your best weapon. And this does not come up. There's never a moment where anyone uses any kind of cleverness to do anything.
Yeah, truly. The pen is mightier than your invincible laser armor from the future.
And
is it
swords.
though?
Yeah,
It's absolutely like that moment in a video game when you go back to the first level or something with all of your gear and you're just like, I'm going to see how fast I can kill them. They're just there. This poses no danger. It's just there for them to blast into tiny pieces. And he goes, well done, my bladesman.
Yeah, it also feels cute and aspirational and ambitious in the way where Craig Stormont like obviously bites up more than he can chew, of like, this is the maneuver to sell more toys, but you're so far from the point where a physical toy of this would change hands in exchange for money. Like, just focus, bud. Like, focus up one step at a time.
God, I would love to have seen him.
They don't need like a spinoff with new kinds of armor yet.
Yeah,
we're rushing
not quite
yet.
But yeah, Undersea does imply like a toy line. Like, oh, got to get those undersea bladesmen.
Well, we cut right to their cool submarine, which is clearly going to be the toy line vehicle. It's.
I did have this. I had Safari Bladesman. I had the submarine.
We're almost to my favorite moment.
It's absolutely the Nautilus. It's a big like sea turtle fish, cool looking submarine that they all of a sudden get. And he returns with them. He's a hawk again. He can only be a hawk in this realm, so he can only get his molestation on in the Nemesis realm.
Yeah, he's like Zeus. He turns to light to molest you.
Except Craig Stormont forgets that. Right before they disappear from the realm forever, he says, I will take my hawk form again, as I must in the real world. And then he appears in the submarine as like a force ghost, as like a transparent version of the wizard. It lasts one panel. It's one panel that he goes, I can only be a hawk in reality. Wait, I'm a guy again.
Like last episode, we discussed these guys. I remember there was one panel where between that panel and then between it and the next panel was implied a whole skirmish, like what would be the bread and butter action sequence of this comic if you gave a shit, was like, oh, there's some orcs coming. Oh, they're all dead.
They're all dead.
Cool.
They do a lot of that coming up.
Like one frame tells the whole story.
Yep.
Yeah.
Whereas he turns into the Force Ghost to instruct them on like how to use the submarine. And then after he's done explaining that, he says, well, I'm tired. I've got to go back to my hawk form now. End of that same page. This has been one page where he is transformed from man to hawk.
If you're
3 times.
tired, if you're tired, doesn't that mean she's all used up? Like, how does that work?
She's just, they're trying to force feed her a cookie and juice back there. Like, I don't think.
She's just like 200 years old. Please kill me.
Yeah, portrait of.
You could have summed up the submarine controls a little quicker.
I really liked the submarine section because it's like one panel is ocean surface. The next panel, there's just a few very, very normal fish. And they're like, wow, what creatures exist down here? And then the third panel is like, oh, cool, we're here at a bunch of random letters completely different from the random letters we were setting out to get to. Like, they're like, there's Raj Krista Cheetah there, which is not the place that their King Sol is at, according to the comic I'm reading.
Yeah, it was like the Necro Vault of Theon and the
Pestilence, I remember.
And right, Nemeson's like, right, I have brought this woman to a third location. This is what I do, man. This is all according to the plan.
So they meet this undersea city of the gods, and we cut to the gods that live there, and they're saying the air breathers are near the gates. Only they live in a giant bubble and breathe air.
Right. But Craig Stormon's a genius, so he knows you can't get from a submarine to an air bubble without some kind of a airlock system. So he's like, hey, are we going to die, everybody? And they're like, no, look, we have magic memory implants that the wizard gave us that tell us how to work our dive suits. So they also have dive suits, and then inside the dive suits, they have comm links. And one of them's like, oh, cool, we can talk to each other from inside these...
That's the moment that I love. Dude, it's when they go, in one panel, a guy goes, oh, we can talk underwater. And another guy goes like, good. Oh, good.
Yeah, good.
Of course.
The bird gave them astral power armor in space, and this is the comic where magic exists. Yes,
future technologies.
I just want to
like
an entire page explaining airlock procedure.
They're centaurs, some of them.
Right.
So he like made them diving bell suits that a centaur can fit in.
Horse, like full horse
dude
size.
Fucking laid it out for them like a banquet. All they need to do is feast.
He's like, try to poke a hole in this, reader. I can't. Can't. He covered every angle.
Well, how would it fit on their armor? Their armor's invisible, but it's still there, dummy.
So they have their invisible, intangible armor. We had to make it intangible so that he could draw the deep sea diving suits on them without you
for the toy line that will be coming out as soon as they get a distributor.
They've received 2 sets of armor and have done nothing so far.
Right.
2 separate rounds of power up. Also, this could have been a scene where they just open a closet or you see in the background some suits hanging on hooks. No, it has to be implanted the location of the closet. It has to be implanted by a ghost hawk into my memory. He says, here, Wind Rider implanted a memory of these undersea diving suits. And then he opens a closet.
He's describing planting a memory, but what he means is just he told it to me and my neurons absorbed that information.
Right.
So,
I think the bird's there, right? The bird could just say, in the same number of words,
yeah, right.
There's dive suits in that closet, guys.
Couldn't the bird arguably just lift one wing and indicate the closet? Like they would look inside at that point, wouldn't you?
No, he's used up that woman. Allegra is just a withered shell. You can't even...
The bird's trying to tell us something. But every word it says kills Allegra, so it's just trying to gesture.
Why are you pecking at that door, bird? Are there bugs inside that door? Are you hungry?
I've used the memory of her first marriage to tell you where the suits are.
Open the fucking closet, her arm falls off. Oh are you happy? Yeah. Are you happy I had to lay it out for you like that? You're killing your friend.
What even are these metal helmet things? Oh, he implanted a memory. I see, they're diving suits. We're all set.
You might be expecting, after all of that, a solid page of psychic diving suit implants.
Fighting a shark or something.
Yeah, fighting a shark. No, they swim
They cut right to the royal chambers. They're like meeting with the king. Like after a page of all that, of just getting through the airlock, it's like, ta-da, they're out of their dive suits. They're meeting and then like a little guy in the back, I wrote this down. He goes, kneel before the gods of the elements now. And the centaur's like, away from us, fool. But then Arthon's kneeling. Arthon's like, no, quit being a dick. Or maybe this might be a really ignorant thing to say to a centaur. Like maybe centaurs can't kneel. I don't know. They have,
Yeah.
I mean, horses can, but the weight's all different.
Yeah.
I guess depending on where the cock is, you could be just putting your cock right in the dirt if you kneel.
Sure.
Like, I'm not sure.
That's disrespectful to the king to fuck his chambers.
I think kneeling is just the forelegs down. Or do you think it's all four? I don't mean four. I mean the front legs down.
Yeah, but like
Ricotta's penis touches the floor like when he's standing.
Right.
If he kneels, it's penetrating the floor, I think is what the problem is.
Right.
Well, based on I'm looking right now at his centaur armor, and he is wearing underwear on the fore parts of the horse legs, so I think his cock's up front. I think it's
okay.
I think it's where the human
Thanks.
penis would be.
Well, there's that famous image that's like technically right. There should be a horse cock at the back and a man cock at the front.
Yeah, we'll go with that. He's got two. Either way,
Yeah.
it's disrespectful to drag him right on the king's carpet. They don't like that.
I like that their tactic is to be like, okay, just give us our king's soul, please. But the evil god, remember, it's a secret that they've been taking all these souls. And so he's like all coy about it. Like, souls? Me? I have no idea what you're talking about. Souls? Who has any souls?
The jig is up. Take their souls. Essentially is what it boils down to.
Pretty much. They're pretty much immediately like, oh, fuck this, let's fight. And then a new group comes, and they're called the Elementus 4. And we know this because they say, you are no match for the Elementus 4. And then they all...
With powers of earth and sky. Her speech bubble is, so you want to fight? You are no match for the Elementus 4 with powers of earth and sky.
That's 4.
Are you
That
the
checks
underwater
out.
gods?
That all checks out. Both the powers of 4.
The idea of Craig Stormont pacing around being like, underwater. Amazing. Adding the underwater layer. You know what? I'm bored of that, though. All of them. All the elements.
all
Why
the
the
elements.
fuck not, man?
That also is like
Fire
a real first day
underwater? Are
D&D
you
shit.
kidding
You're
me?
like, you go in the cave, and it's the cave of 4 elements. You're like, oh, shit. Brilliant.
It's hopscotch rules that you would make up.
I like the panels, they introduce themselves, because the water is the mistress, and then air and land are both mighty, and then fire is demanding. I just thought it was a very strange word choice for all those things.
Give me fuel to burn. I need oxygen.
I like that the two in a row, right? The water lady goes first, and she's like, I am the mistress of water. And then the earth goddess goes next, and she's like, I am the goddess of land. Feel my power might, is what she says.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah.
So really lays claim to that. And then the panel after that, the guy says, I control air. I am Welkin the Mighty. No. She's got power might. You got to pick a different thing.
You can't be
Not
mighty.
to mention, by the way, Shakespeare fans will know Welkin means sky or air.
I control air. I am air. The mighty air. So they try to blast the Bladesmen, but they have their super swords, powers unspecified, which can just knock away all sorts of fireballs.
Yeah, all those water balls, fireballs.
And just the idea that the gods of the sea needed backup, so they called the mistress of the sea or whatever she called. It's like a downgrade. And then they're like, you know who would be handy in this situation contextually? Fire guy.
Oh, yeah.
Fire guy underwater. It's like watching your niece play Pokemon and you're like, no, not that. That's a leaf.
No.
Don't you understand how the elements work?
So they're in the action scene, which is just a bunch of lines and chaos. My favorite thing is that the centaur Rakoto is using his axe to like knock away a wind blast, and I think it's Arthon is like smacking away a water blast, and then Elvor, the little guy, is just hopping around furiously with no opponent, going choom 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 chum, just bouncing around, having a blast.
I made a note that like in the middle of this fight, the gods are like, these guys are pretty good. Let's take their souls. But they don't hatch an evil scheme. They just stop the fight and they say, all right, I'll have your souls, please.
That moment is interrupted by an ad. And this ad is for limited edition uncut card sheets signed and numbered by C.A. Stormon.
Available soon after orders arrive.
Available
Smooth
soon.
and uncut, baby.
So possibly non-existent, but I would like to point out that in a previous podcast, he promised that there would be trading cards included with all his comics from now on. And I have them, some of them new in their little pouch and everything. And there were no trading cards. So he promised trading cards, didn't deliver them, and now he's selling uncut card sheets.
Uncut card sheets. Incredible.
So we know what happened to those cards. You did not put them in the cut. You either forgot them or couldn't afford to have them cut.
Right. I think it's got to be that.
I love how even in the ads in his comic just tell about his failing business. Like it's all the story.
It's very Death of a Salesman through the editorials page of a comic. Does he, I don't know, baseball cards are collectible cards. I imagine at least Sean must. Does being uncut help or hurt value or not matter? Or do you not know?
Honestly don't know. I've never bought an uncut sheet of trading cards.
Sure. Yeah.
I imagine that there wouldn't be like a set market value. I think it would be sort of a novelty collectible that you would just, like a card, you could just go on eBay and say, oh, this card's worth $2.80. Whereas an uncut sheet.
Yes, but I guess I imagine if it was a card that mattered and you had the original production sheet where it's gridded with other cards and it's uncut, that might be worth something more.
I feel like it would be.
Yeah.
It would be like a rare and unusual thing, sure.
Anyway, these don't exist. So.
Right.
No. Yeah, he was supposed to include them as promotional material, and now he's trying to sell them, only they have not arrived, and I doubt they ever will at that point.
Available soon after orders arrive is one of the most aspirational things. It's just as soon as I figure out how to print on cardboard, they'll mail them to me, and then I'll have them, and then I'll give them to you. If again, a lot has to happen.
Look, man, you got to spend money to make money, and I mean you got to spend money
for me to make money. I love him so much. I love watching his failing business spiral out of control within the pages of his comic book.
Just stops the undersea adventure to just give you this sadness dump of fucking his failing trading card idea.
Quick update, it's not working. Remember when I said you could come and talk to me if you didn't like stuff? I get it. I understand you don't have to write. I understand. I got it. I fucked up. So we go to a splash page of some real 5th grade art. As all of the characters fight and flail all over the place.
Violent squirting in all directions.
They make for the vault. And I guess in the middle of this fight, a couple of them, Allegra and I think Elvor, decide to make a break for the vault to try to free the king and the Hawk, too. Windrider is now back despite disappearing.
Yeah.
Only for the where are the swimsuits located scene. He ran out of energy.
And he needs to be freed? When was he confinable?
He's back in Hawk form. They're going to free the king, who is in the vault.
Okay.
So they're all running for the vault. They're being led by the Hawk, who has suddenly reappeared. Whoops, he's dead. He takes another blast immediately. Literally one panel. Here's the Hawk, and then the Hawk is going, Kwa, awak, ag, as he's being melted by one of the fire guys.
You might think I'm crazy for this, but I bet if there was an issue 2, he would have come back to life.
Absolutely. As something underwater, perhaps, but then they'd have an air adventure where it made no sense. Because, like, why did he turn into a hawk for the underwater spinoff? Right. He'd be a dolphin that joins them on their sky adventure. But yeah, it has the basic, like, little kid storytelling problem, which is, oh, well, that guy's stronger than that guy. Oh, then he comes in and kills him. How come? Well, he's stronger than him. It just goes up and up and up, you see.
That's just season 3 of Reacher.
Yeah.
They avenge themselves upon the guard who killed their Hawk friend by cutting his head off, and the sound effect they use is chunt, which
brutal.
I wouldn't have picked that one.
I feel like the tone of this has not been like this, and then suddenly in this drawing, he like fetishistically does like the neck is really biologically detailed. You're like, there's all this shit in there. These
not accurate, but really detailed.
No,
just weird tubes and shit.
Yeah.
There's like, it's got its own intestine system.
I'm positive if you brought that up to Craig Stormont, he would say, yeah, but these are underwater fish guys. You don't know their anatomy. They keep their intestines in their neck.
They're in the shimmer. It's the eels from Annihilation.
You can't poke a hole in any of this storytelling.
So for the first time, Allegra uses her non-specified magic powers, which were never explained to her by the Hawk. He died. Before, remember, he said, we'll get to that later. He's dead. She will never understand what magic she has, but she uses it to call Dargor's soul specifically from the vault. And then they also have to pry open the door, which I like.
Right.
No, it's also a physical door. You have to open it so he can come out.
But she can do that because the because she has those, like, as soon as the bird dies, she's like, oh, now that he's not eating me, I have all these powers.
I was gonna say, was he only fattening her up power-wise to eat her like a cow? You know what I mean? Like, why fill her with power if she's your battery? Unless he was gonna do it. I don't get it. Yeah. And amazing that her magic power just manifests as the plot can proceed.
Yes.
Yeah. Because she's the chosen one, the plot moves ahead as expected.
They get exploded by a fireball here. The drama here is that they get hit by a fireball that like explodes into the whole page. There's like chunks of fire all over every panel for the rest of the page. And yet they're fine. Like there's fireball chunks over panels where they're unaffected by the fireball.
Okay, he fucked up here. He wanted to add stakes, so the fire guy is standing behind them as they try to open the door, and she uses her powers to summon his soul so he can get out the door. The fire guy shoots a fireball at them and blows up the door, therefore they accomplished nothing. The powers were for nothing. They didn't open the door. The fire guy opened the door.
I feel like you're being generous.
He blew up the door for them.
Okay.
And then so the ghost comes out and they say, Dargor, you're free at last. And he just whips the fuck out of there. Not a single word. He's thanks from the ghost realm, loyal. Nope. He just zips right out of the ocean.
There are trees under him in the second panel when he leaves. I'm like, Jesus, this guy's already through the abyss.
There are trees under him by the time he has his first thought bubble. He didn't have any thoughts.
He didn't even stop to marvel at those deep sea salmon.
He just thinks, I must return to Darkonia. I sense my evil son has taken power. I must stop him. Setting the stage for what will surely be like a very Hamlet-style, real political family tragedy. Surely.
Or at least a Ghostbusters ghost fight, like a scare-off. If you're not going to do the Shakespeare.
I think it's going to be hornier than that. Spoilers.
Yeah, guess what? It's going to be little magic missiles squirting around because that's all they really got.
We'll see who's right. We'll see. We cut back to the throne room for more just energy chaos. Literally every single character is shooting an energy bolt in a different direction. None of them at each other.
Whee!
Right.
Yeah, it's just fireworks. Everyone is Jubilee. It's an all Jubilee, all Jubilee X-Men team.
That's the dream. That's the dream comic.
The Bladesmen decide we can't hold off these gods any longer. They're much stronger than we are. Dargor is free. Let's get out of here. So they're just, whoops, we fucked up. But whatever, he's gone. So they're going to leave when two of the gods combine powers to make a gigantic tidal wave, which again is supposed to be inside this throne room. Not really sure how. It looks like I want to say about a 15-story tall tidal wave is inside of this throne room that we've seen. It crashes down on top of them, and everybody guess it, it's the 90s. What do? They fucking Snake Plissken it. They surf the tidal wave.
Hell yes.
They surf the tidal wave right back to their helmets, which they specifically mention. Oh, we've landed off the tidal wave just in time to grab our helmets so we don't drown.
Hey, we can talk to each other.
Great.
Yeah.
Amazing.
It's air. Do you not understand how sound works?
They get outside and some guards on manta rays are chasing them, so at least that's something. Then they start to make a break for their submarine, and then we cut away at the castle. Back to the evil prince, the evil shithead prince who took over Dargori's reign.
I really like this because he's in pajamas carrying a teddy bear and just like speaking out loud about his terrible misdeeds. He's like, I have executed beggars. I am an evil guy. I'm doing evil stuff. Having a great day doing evil stuff. All right.
He's dressed in a full Scrooge, including candle. He's even got the little candle with the trigger guard. Trigger guard candle, floppy hat. He's just scrooging around the corridors, reflecting on all the wonderful evil he's done. When he hears a voice, and he says, Dog, knave, who speaks? I'll have your head. And the voice says, I'm your worst nightmare. Don't you know me? Smat? I would like to interject that his name is not Smat. It's Seamot, with an I. You can zoom in all you want. It's not Kerning. He forgot his name. So his own father did not remember his name and called his son Smat. To which Smat says, it's a joke, haha, stop it. And the voice says, this is no joke, Smat.
Stop laughing, Smat.
No one's going to believe this, but he takes over his body and immediately sets off to go fuck with it. He's like, I'm going to go put my son's dick in stuff, like, right now.
Dude, yes, dude. That was one of the jaw-dropping moments. Man, I was just aghast.
He sees his father's ghost. He says, Father, ghost. And then the next panel is him dead on the floor as his father says, dead from shock? What a sissy. I can't let this young body go to waste.
I'm going to glove fuck through your dick some hot tail right now.
Let a father never look at their young your young child and say, I can't let this young body go to waste. Never appropriate.
Yeah, you're under arrest.
Right. They say it's a tragedy when a father buries his son, but I would add only if he doesn't marionette that son's body into getting laid a lot. Then it's kind of a happy occasion, right?
Yeah.
Everyone
Then
wins.
the father says, let's see, Nemesis told me how to do this once. Nemesis told you how to possess the body of your dead son?
You told the evil guy how to possess it. Also, I guess he's not evil. That's what's funny is the comic is like, this is good that this is happening.
Yeah, he's the good guy. This is what we were fighting for. That whole undersea adventure was to cause this.
To empower the one true king to sunfuck someone.
The son, I want to remind you, in full Scrooge gear with his pointy hat and pajamas,
Yeah.
a little sinister smile on his face saying, well, I may have to see the royal harem and try this thing out. By this thing, he means his son's cock.
Yep.
Also, by royal harem, he means in their society, it is institutionalized. He has a bunch of consorts. He fucks whatever he wants. And in case we didn't mention it, the son looks like Gargamel. So he's going to go in there with his hooked troll dick and be like, I am literally dead. I'm going to fuck you all now.
Yum, yum. Yeah. Can't wait to get my dead son's sloppy seconds.
Grave. Yeah. He died of shock, as indeed the reader probably has. Yeah.
Anyway, that's absolutely why we had, I mean, I'll cover a Craig Stormont comic all the time, but this is the moment where you're like, no, we have to talk about when the whole thing, this whole comic is to rescue the king from this crystal. Even the first couple of issues, that's the problem, is the king was put in the crystal. They finally rescue him. He wordlessly zips out of the vault, doesn't thank them, goes straight to kill his son and take his cock.
Because his son's a bad ruler, which he's like, okay, fair enough, but he's like, that's punishable by death. Not just death. I claim your body from beyond the grave and use it to defile women.
Yes.
Like he rushed out of there so wordlessly, so fast. He must have been in the vault the whole time thinking, I'm gonna get that cock. I'm gonna get that cock. I'm gonna take that cock.
I need that young cock. He's that guy. He's that guy that measures his son's night boners because he's trying to live forever.
Yeah, this is the ultimate evolution of that guy. As though he's a Pokemon. This is what he's trying to turn into. So back undersea, that should have been just the mic drop. But.
Yeah, the real ending is stupid. It's just nothing compared to what we just discussed.
Yes, it's just such a letdown. But we go back undersea where they're in their submarine fleeing from the guards, and they notice they're in so much trouble. They have to do something. They spot a small cave and they say, "Quick, go into that cave!" And the guards pursuing after them say, "They are right in our sights, ready!" And then they slam into the cave and explode. Never once thinking.
Not understanding. Wait. This is bigger than that. Wait a minute. That's all disgusting.
I think they're trying to do the Independence Day UFO chase scene where they pull up at the last second or pull off and then. Oh, but no.
The way it's drawn.
No.
It's clearly that they buried full force with no brakes just right into the wall.
The bad guys sacrifice themselves to hopefully seal them in a cave.
Their last words are there, right in our sights, ready, explode.
Ready, set, oh fuck.
They're only saved because somehow...
I'm choking on my own charred trachea. How did this happen?
The only people stupider in this world than the Bladesmen are the people chasing the Bladesmen.
There's always a cave or an inlet or a fjord.
They'd zoom out of the tunnel saying, I hope there's another way out, because this wasn't a plan. That tunnel could have ended and they would have also slammed into a wall and a Bladesman. So at no point did they ever have a plan, just blind running and luck.
No, their true power is that their dreams are manifest in reality. Because this time the clever, resourceful move is literally just that he wishes it to be true. So it is. It's like the character, has a gun to Craig Stormont's head. You zoom out like a Looney Tune and he's drawing fucking escape tunnel.
And what's at the other end of the tunnel, Craig? Is it all a whole bunch of treasure, Craig? Okay, I'll draw the treasure.
Yep, it's a whole bunch of treasure. They zoom out and there's a pirate ship with a bunch of treasure and they say, we made it, and look at that treasure, we're rich. That treasure, which has never been mentioned. They weren't looking for it.
It's not even pirate times. The undersea gods were like Poseidon coded. Right. And this is pirate treasure. Like what? And they're fantasy people. What fucking time is it?
What happened?
And they're like, oh, look, by the way, it's the treasure from the Goonies. We'll take that too. Great.
Even if you just have earlier on somebody in the comic saying, oh, the Sea of Pestilence? I hear that's where Captain Pestilence lost his great treasure.
All you had to do was say, I heard there's a treasure there.
I mean, that still sucks. But it's better than this. Where they get treasure. But that's not the real ending. The real ending is a small text box at the bottom of that page that says, did you like Bladesman Undersea #1?
Please.
If you did, please let us know. This is the last planned issue if we don't have a demand.
Is there a tunnel? Is there a way out of here? And I mean my life.
That's how it ends. That's the end of because there was not. Like, spoiler alert, there's not another Bladesman.
I got to imagine Craig Sturmont's last words will be, I got it right in my sights. And then he just explodes.
Did you like Bladesman Undersea 1? If you did, please let us know. This is the last planned issue. That's always just displaying that confidence I love to see.
I like that he also doesn't even add, I know it's what he means, but he doesn't add, unless you like if you buy a lot, we'll do more. He just says, this is it. End of the line. Party's over, boys.
This is it.
Well, I mean, he wrapped up everything. The good guys got the treasure. Those human trafficking victims got to have sex with the zombie penis. I mean, everybody wins.
Einstein, Hunter, Frankfurt. Einstein, Hunter, Frankfurt.